Hey everybody, you listen to the JMCC Podcast. It's been quite a while since we've actually done an episode, but we're here, we're doing some summer meetings, so we're going to be doing one pretty much every single week, and if it's not that, then we'll probably end up doing some gaming videos and stuff. But our first topic today, which neither of you guys know about, but there is a brand new Assassin's Creed that was announced 2 days ago, and it's called Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And I like the Assassin's Creed franchise. Obviously, I'm like wearing my Assassin's Creed hoodie right now. But I don't know what you guys think of there being another game in the franchise. Like, do you guys even like Assassin's Creed like at all?
I've never actually played an Assassin's Creed game, so I guess all I can say is hope this one does well, I guess.
The Assassin's Creed series started before I ever got an interest in the Xbox 360, mostly because I didn't have a 360 then.
Yeah, it
We had misguided faith in the Wii. It was a very difficult time for all of us.
it had Smash Brothers though. It had a few good games, but
looking at it now, it does look pretty interesting. I see how people like you can really get into it. Yeah, but after everything with Assassin's Creed Unity, just hoping this turns out well.
Yeah, me too. Those I haven't played Unity myself, but I think everyone's seen all the glitches and bugs and stuff that came out of that. But
the infamous eyes and mouth with no face.
Yeah, it was just anything and everything that could go wrong with that one, I think kind of did. But I don't know. I still like the franchise. I'm excited for it because it's in a new era, of course. So that's always really cool. It's in Victoria era London. So it's like 1868. So they actually have like trains and stuff, and it's more of like the trailers. It feels like sort of a gang type of video game where it's like Streets of New York type stuff with gangs actually fighting each other. So it seems like it has a cool concept.
Are we ever going to get to the point where we progress through the years to the point where we can finally have an Assassin's Creed BioShock Infinite crossover?
That would be interesting. But I will show you guys the trailer just so you guys can see it. They released like some gameplay footage of it as well.
Just pretend you can see the trailer.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'd be able to put it up even without sound because of copyright and all that, but of course, I'll put a link in. I'll put a link.
Just use your imagination.
Yeah.
Or try to
like
sync it with the
the
podcast.
So we're currently at like the super speed portion, and now random people, and the train, which it's a weird color train. It's like a bright green train. I thought was interesting.
Yeah, something you'd definitely expect out of a British children's show.
Yeah. Makes you think of Thomas the Tank Engine. Just
thank you, Terrence. That was the joke.
Yeah. James, thanks to my cousins, I actually know the names outside of Thomas.
And yeah, this apparently this game is going to be narrated by Ringo Starr. Or you can find some like old George Carlin clips and just overlay it over that. But then again, if you're going to overlay George Carlin clips, it's probably going to be not just from his Thomas stuff. In fact, you overlay George Carlin clips over anything, and I guarantee you it'll probably be the funniest thing ever. Like, you could probably say something funny about these two guys beating the crap out of each other. Like, they're trying to remake the Midway classic Pit Fighter.
Well, it's a lot of cool stuff in it, like the carriage thing. I watched a gameplay video of it, and you can chase people on carriages. They have, like, the zip line. He basically has one of the comments.
Blood.
Yeah, one of the comments I saw was, like, he has, like, the Batman grapple gun from the Arkham franchise because you can just shoot it up and then climb up the buildings and stuff. But it seems pretty cool.
I'm sure everyone's gonna say like that top hat is gonna be like the fedora of the 1800s, or was the fedora of the 1800s. Because admittedly, he does look really douchey wearing it.
At first, I saw the character art and heard the name Assassin's Creed Syndicate and thought it took place in like 1920s Chicago or something. And this is going to be a mob game, basically.
It'd be cool if there was, like, a drunk mode in this game. Like, it would be on the highest difficulty. Like, try to assassinate all these people without getting caught while drunk.
It seems cool, though. graphics-wise, that's not much because obviously games just look better as they go along. But It seems interesting. Like the guy and the girl in this video, because we're watching the gameplay footage, I believe they're brother and sister in this, actually.
Oh, really?
So one of the big things is that we might actually get to play as two main characters instead of just
cool.
one character throughout the franchise, which would be pretty sweet. And maybe they'd have different fighting styles and stuff, because he's like the brawler type character, and maybe she's more of the assassin style or something.
Okay.
So I'd love to see how they play around with this aspect and stuff like that. The characters seem like they have a good dynamic with each other too. But
And he's looking around just like as if he's never seen this place before, even though he's probably walked on this street at least 50 times.
But it looks good, like even for pre-alpha.
He's just wondering, when is that building gonna get constructed? Because he probably just has drinks with the construction workers like every day, and they just stay there for like 6 hours, so that building never gets completed. I guarantee you, like, that building will never see completion throughout this game.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
Unless they start skipping a bunch of years like they're doing the.
Unless it becomes like a crucial part of the plot. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a bank opening up, but in reality, it's just like a secret base for assassins.
Well, I'm definitely curious about the story for sure, because with it being sort of a syndicate type of thing, they do blend it with the sort of gang fight style, but they make it obviously assassins and Templars. And one of the big things in this, which is kind of cool, is that they're actually female characters that you fight against, instead of it being like every male character, every person you fight is a guy. There, you actually fight against women in this too. And even in this playthrough, one of the main people is actually a woman. But yeah, you like go into stealth mode and he takes his top hat off and folds it down, and there's like the little back grapple gun and stuff. But
Maybe he has like a secret group of friends that are just like really angsty and really depressed and are probably like lower class, and he wants to hang out with them, but he doesn't know about his actual life being like moderately successful and being able to like really liking top hats. So he just puts that hood over himself to try to make it look like he's one of them. They haven't found out yet.
A lower class guy.
They've never found out. And when they do, there will most likely be a gang fight, the likes of which they have never seen before.
So like this right here, I think is cool. Like using the zip line to go across buildings, but then you can drop in the middle and kill someone. And like they have that in like every game. There's some new minor mechanic.
I don't know. After seeing like the
cool.
skyline thing in Bioshock Infinite, it's more grounded, but it's not as awesome. Like, you just go flying through with the skyhook, and then you just
like a roller coaster,
and then you just smack the guy in the face with that hook attachment. I've only ever played Bioshock Infinite at a friend's house, so I don't know like the exact terms. So, but still, it looks awesome. Yeah,
it should be cool. I mean, I'm wondering how
Assassin Goomba Stomp.
How a lot of people feel about it though, because every year there's an Assassin's Creed game. Last year there were 2 games.
Okay, so
I guess was it last year or the year? Yeah, I guess it was last year. They had Unity and Rogue came out.
I've heard about that, where they think Assassin's Creed's going to start becoming like, or already has become like COD, in which it
just comes out all the time.
Yeah,
I feel like this advances way more than Call of Duty though. I think it's hard to argue that it doesn't.
I haven't played a Call of Duty game since Black Ops, and even then I never actually owned Black Ops. Plus, the only Call of Duty game I've ever actually owned was Modern Warfare 2, and I sold it within, I think, a year. There was a time when I actually would play it like a lot, but I sucked at it. So then I sold it. Although I think I've gotten better with like FPS games in general ever since I started like really sitting down and playing Far Cry 3.
Yeah, the only Call of Duty I own is the first Modern Warfare. Like when that first came out, that was really cool. I played up until Modern Warfare 3. I haven't played Ghost or Black Ops 2. There's Black Ops 3 coming out, which I haven't bothered looking at it, but that should be something. It's another Call of Duty game. They'll be shooting people, so not too much. Yeah. I mean, I like the games. I like I'm one of the people that I play those more for the story than the multiplayer, which apparently is super rare because some people just buy it. They don't even play, the main campaign. They only play online.
I kind of understand that. And I think, like, it's kind of funny that they put all this effort into the campaign, or I don't know how much effort they actually do it, but they put effort into it, when in reality, most people are just going to be playing the multiplayer anyway. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there, and I'm sure people will still play it just to get, like, you know, achievements and trophies and all that.
Yeah.
Although, however, like, I guess it matters in the long run, because eventually, like, the consoles that are hosting these games are going to have their online features stripped. So that all you're left with, unless you can get someone to play local multiplayer, which I think COD still does, is the single player mode. And other than that, you know, that's it. That's your game.
Yeah. And that's one of the weird things about games today. Yeah, you have old games where it's like you go back and play them, but games now, a big component is multiplayer.
Yeah.
Or online multiplayer. And if 4 or 5 generations from now, when the PS3 is basically like the Nintendo or PS1, there won't be any servers. There won't be like you can go and play the old Call of Duties, or, you know, like I couldn't go online in like 12 years and then go back and be like, I want to play Uncharted 2 online or something. Like, that's not gonna happen, and I think it'll be interesting when that starts.
I guess I think some people might actually find ways around it. I guess, like,
I'm sure there's
maybe
some.
I'm not sure if they'll try doing, I don't know, like a third party network or something like that. I have a feeling that people have like I have a feeling that people have tried doing it before. Although I've never heard of like a large case of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if they could, you know, get an online network that could like host as much as what the PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo networks are hosting now, because it probably costs billions of dollars to operate those. It would the best you could probably ever hope for is if some, you know, tech whiz in your local neighborhood makes like one of these one of these small servers, exactly. And, you know, you get a bunch of friends together and you just, you know, go online with that. And even then, with the small range, you really got to ask yourself, you know, would it be better to do it small range, or can we just, you know, all go over to each other's houses and just play? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, there has yet to be a console that lets you have like 16 to 32 controllers. Granted, that would be awesome.
That'd be crazy hard to see.
I know.
Tiny itty bitty little cubes. Like, I think that's me. I don't know. It would be interesting. I think the only game that, I mean, there are several games that have experienced that, but the only really big one that I remember there was like a story about was like Halo 2, when they officially stopped doing servers for that. That wasn't until, I want to say that was maybe 4 years ago, when they finally stopped doing servers for Halo 2 on the original Xbox.
Wow.
And there were still people playing. Like, there were people on until they cut those servers playing Halo 2.
You know, I actually remember...
the floodgates opened.
I remember one of the very first Halo 3 commercials back in the day was like... Basically, I think the commercial was just Master Chief saying goodbye to all the old Halo 2 locations. I bet everybody went on YouTube to try to find that commercial the day that they closed the Halo 2 servers.
It should be, I don't know. It'll be weird to see that happen I mean, like when it happens eventually on the 360, because it happened on the Xbox. I mean, with Xbox, of course, it was different because that was the first. Xbox and PS2 were like the first ones to really do online, so very different compared to now, where it's like pretty much every single game is like has some component of online multiplayer, but it will still happen eventually, because when you get, you know, 5 games in and the first game was like 4 or 5 consoles ago, you're not gonna spend that money to have those servers to let people play.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah,
I can just imagine a game like Titanfall that's
hardly like no single player at all, really.
I think it's 100% online multiplayer.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard Splatoon's supposed to be 100% online multiplayer as well.
I think it's supposed to have a single player.
They have a single player mode for Splatoon, and they have a local multiplayer, but it's only like a one-on-one thing, which kind of sucks.
That really sucks.
At the same time, it makes sense. I mean, they could still do 5 people, or at least 4 if they did do split screen, I think. But they said that they were going to do sort of a they said it would be different than just the normal 4-on-4 that the online mode is. They said it would have like sort of a hide and seek type of element to it, like a capture and spy type thing. So it should be interesting where it's not just, paint the field just one on one, which would be so boring. Just like I'm going to paint this and then one other person paints that. So it should be interesting to see how they do that mode since it's just one on one. But I do wish they did like 4-player online or something, or local. I mean, for that.
Yeah,
it's the perfect game for it because when they even announced it, that was the big thing, was that it was a multiplayer game.
Plus, it's made by the company that made the first console that could natively handle 4 players.
So I don't know.
I say natively because NES and Super Nintendo had attachments that allowed 4 players.
Yeah, I think the first NES did too.
Yeah, the NES had the 4 score, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Super Nintendo, I don't know exactly what it was called. It was probably, let's just call it the 4 score as well. Yeah. Believe it or not, I think PS1.
Super 4 score.
Yeah, PS1 had a 4 score of its own as well.
Yeah, I remember that. My cousin had one of those. I feel like there were so few games that utilized it though. Like, oddly enough, I think on Super Nintendo, the game that should have had it more than anything was probably Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah.
Because it's only 2 players on Super Nintendo, and that's like, I think that I'd argue that that's the most popular Ninja Turtles game that's been created.
He's talking about Turtles in Time, by the way.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. And it's, in the arcade, it's 4 players, but on Sega and SNES, it's only 2 players.
Hyperstone Ice on Genesis.
Yeah.
Hey, they might not know.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like I didn't even know that they did that until recently, because I only find out all this stuff from like the Angry Video Game Nerd, because he has like any connection possible. It's like
basically
there was some, like, I just watched a video. They were playing like on the Neo Geo CD, and they were playing with like these old sort of arcade style controllers on that.
Yeah.
And they were like, the cord is so short, I wonder if you can even buy extensions. And they just put a picture and like got them. Like, I would have never known that Neo Geo had like extension cables for arcade style.
Since you were talking about the whole online thing, I think I just remembered something. I know the Genesis actually had online because they had the Sega Network.
Yeah.
Or I don't even remember exactly what it was called. I think it was the Sega Network. Although on that, all you could really do is like buy games off of it, and most people only remember it because it had Mega Man, the Wily Wars, which was the first 3 Mega Man games were updated to 16-bit with some new additions as well. And I think the Super Nintendo actually had a cartridge that could connect to a modem.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that either.
Although I don't know if many people used it.
Yeah. Well, it was also like the Dreamcast, because I did say that they were the first ones, but the Dreamcast had it too. Although people hardly use it. I feel like, because I actually saw my cousin used to play Phantasy Star Online. He used to play that like crazy, and he actually would connect online to play with other people and like trade items on that, because that was a big JRPG game. So there were tons of people in that, and it was like you can meet people in the hub world and trade items and this and that.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I'd seen that, and actually go and fight in the game with other characters, because they had like giant caves with enemies. So there were a lot of games that, unfortunately, I feel like didn't utilize a lot of the different components. Even not just the Dreamcast like online, but going back to the Super Nintendo with Ninja Turtles, and that having obviously 4 turtles. Everyone knows it's 4 turtles, but they limited it to 2, and it could have been a limitation that it just couldn't handle.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of funny when you think of the fact that they couldn't have compatibility with the 4-player Super Nintendo thing, and yet from what I've seen in like comparison videos, apparently like the Super Nintendo version actually added a bunch of stuff that the arcade version didn't have.
Yeah, there's a lot taken out too, though. Like the biggest thing would of course be like voices.
Yeah, makes sense.
Out of that, so. And that was still a really cool game. I do wish it had like 4 players. I always thought, like I said, I didn't know until I saw like a random nerd video. I was like, I didn't even know Super Nintendo could do 4 players. So, and like that's when it clicked. That's like when I first saw that, I was like, man, that instantly made me go to Ninja Turtles. Like, why wasn't that somehow 4 players? So that did kind of suck, but it's still a great game no matter what.
All right. Well, I guess that tangent ended.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back to kind of the online stuff. I mean, I still think, because it's a concern even now. Like, I remember when Bayonetta 2 first came out, I watched a review for it, because that technically has 2 players in it. And like a special sort of battle mode, they have 2 players where you can play. And it's online only, which once again is really stupid. Like, and I think that's been a thing happening for a while lately, where it's like a lot of games let go of local multiplayer, which is really, really unfortunate.
That is really dumb.
And then it's like online only, because like obviously we don't know how to make games or anything, but like a component of it, like if I had to pick in the long run, I guess I would choose local rather than online, because at some point we all know online will be gone no matter what console it is, because
Yeah, I gotcha.
everything's going to end up being 10 years old at some point.
I mean,
and it won't
honestly,
happen
the idea of local multiplayer isn't even like outdated or anything.
yeah,
Especially
if anything, it's better.
And if it's because, people aren't going to buy this game in like 10 or 20 years, it's like, that's stupid, because a bunch of markets have shown that you can go ahead and sell like some game from like 10 or 20 years ago on, I don't know, Steam or the Wii Virtual Console or any sort of digital marketplace, or even on a physical disc. Like, look at how many HD collections have come out recently, basically allowing you to. It's mostly due to the fact that most PS3s can't play PS2 games, so this is just kind of a way to bring them to those consoles.
Yeah.
But still, like, people will still buy this stuff, and they'll still buy games with local multiplayer. I mean, remember like the original Wii Virtual Console and how Mario Kart 64 had a consistent top 10 spot on the best buyers list? And that game only has local multiplayer because Nintendo doesn't feel like adding online features to their old games, which I kind of wish they would do.
That would be a cool concept.
But then again, everyone would probably be maybe they're worried that most people would buy like those games and use the online multiplayer
wouldn't
compared
buy
to the
like
old
the
ones.
$60 stuff if they could just stick with the nostalgia. Yeah,
I gotcha. Like, I'm sure people would still like buy like Mario Kart 8, even if we lived in a world where Mario Kart 64 had online features.
Without a doubt. Like, it's always a business thing though. It's like no one wants to lose even a single copy of we sold Mario Kart 8, but like losing local multiplayer does really suck. And there's so many games that could have it but don't. And that's like one of the most unfortunate things. Like one of the games that does it really well, I think, is Borderlands. I think Borderlands, does that do 4-player co-op local, or is it only 2?
I wouldn't know, dude.
I'll
Me
look
neither.
it up. But I know you can at least do local multiplayer, and they're still doing that. I believe, unless they've changed it in the pre-sequel, they still had it. That was like a big thing for them. Like, we want to keep local multiplayer because you can always play with friends at some point. Like, online is great where you get like a big crowd of people.
Yeah.
But at some point you will need local multiplayer.
Yeah, of course, because it gives your game more longevity.
Like it just, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that could use it. And there's some games that could, of course, use online as well. Like one game that I always wished had online, because I don't end up playing it with anyone, is the game Catherine. And it's just like a simple puzzle game. We played it here like years ago, like a year or two ago. But that's the only way I get to play that with other people. And it's just a puzzle game. But if it had online, I would have played it way more than I did. And so it's one of those things where it's almost the opposite.
I mean, maybe if it's because they don't think a puzzle game would,
kind of
would do well on an online spectrum. It's like, go look at Facebook. How many people do you think play the various Tetris clones or Tetris or whatever on Facebook? Because I remember back when I was still going to Grand Valley. This was like 5 years ago. Like, we would all just play each other in Tetris through the Facebook app. I would consistently get my ass kicked, but that's another story.
But yeah, the games, both online and local, are a big deal.
Yep.
And like I said, if we had to choose, it would suck to choose because, of course, it's like in the here and now, I think you'd want multiplayer because it's like, well, everyone's online.
Yep.
But if you do really look at it, it's like in the long run, once you run out of online, if you have nothing, if you have no form of co-op or even multiplayer against each other locally, all you have is a story that you've played hundreds of times. There's no, I can play around with this person or that person, and sometimes they win, sometimes I win. It's like, I'm going to beat this computer at the hardest difficulty eventually, and I'll do it over and over again.
I gotcha. Like, again, going back to my days of Grand Valley, like, we did a lot of... we used to basically take our game consoles into the main lobby of our dorm room, our dorm building, I should say, and we used to just play, like, a bunch of local multiplayer games, like whatever the latest COD was at the time, Brawl, Mario Kart 64, the original Smash Brothers, just all these different games. And we even used to, like, you know, go over to each other's dorm rooms and play, like, Call of Duty and Madden and all that other stuff. So it's still there, especially, I guess, you know, college communities. It's kind of a no shit situation because, you know, you have people you can hang out with within very close proximity most of the time. So you can easily get a bunch of people together for local multiplayer. Yeah. It's not like in the real world where people have, like, schedules and
different houses and 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
40 minutes.
And it requires you to drive a car, which costs gas money.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how that does impact games that come out today. Like, for people that do play Call of Duty, like, I'm sure they'll just be playing the newest one on whatever console, but there will be those people that want to go back and be like, I want to play this old one. Or there will be something kind of like with Halo 2 where it just got incredibly popular. People just love the dynamic of that because, like both Halo and Call of Duty, they do change in each game, the multiplayer. Like, in some aspect, there's something. Like, currently, with Call of Duty, they have, like, the kill confirm thing, and I don't think they added that until, like, Black Ops 2, or maybe Modern Warfare 3 or something like that. But for the longest time, that wasn't a thing. It was just you kill a person, you get points. And now it's like they have the kill confirm and the kill still stuff. And some people might want to go back one day and just play an older one.
You know what I just realized? I think one of the reasons why PC online multiplayer usually is better in the long run, not only because you can make, like, various, you know, servers to keep it alive. I think the modding scene might have something to do with it too. Like, people to this day are still making mods of Doom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I'm not sure if that would affect, like, multiplayer or anything. Yeah. Like, I'm just saying, like, in general, like, if you can find a way to, like, modify a game or something, it will usually have, like, a much...
It'll increase
like,
its about a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or maybe even
year
longer.
Per mod, depending on the mod, yeah. Because, like GTA, of course, with its mods, there's a mod for GTA 4 that makes it look like GTA 5.
That's funny.
And so it looks amazing. Like, it was crazy when I saw that. And there's one for Grand Theft Auto Vice City that makes it look like Grand Theft Auto 4. So it's going from, like, you know, PS2 Vice City all the way up to, like, Grand Theft Auto 4 style graphics, and it looks amazing. Like, It's crazy to see something like that. And that's I always wish that they would redo that one because that was always my favorite one, was Vice City. But having games, you know, having the multiplayer, and I was looking up Borderlands. You can only do 2-player co-op on console. 4-player is online only. But still, at least, you know, one other person. That's more than nobody. Like, you can't get online. There's nothing now. You just have single player, and you're by yourself.
I don't even... Oh, right. Well, I don't even get it now because, you know, it was okay for, like, just there being 2-player for a while. Because I think the only console that didn't have, like, 4 players, like, 10 years ago was the PS2. But the PS2 was the most popular console at that time. So I guess it would make sense for them to maybe just, like, skimp out on the other extra 2 players. Because only the least two popular consoles, Xbox and GameCube, were going to get it anyway. Yeah. But now we're at the point where, you know, a 4-player console is pretty much a standard now. You know, Xbox... The 360 had it, the PS3 had it, the Wii had it, and now their new versions have it as well. Mm-hmm. So really, there's now no excuse for why there can't be, like, a 4-player multiplayer mode unless, you know, deadline restraints or something.
And I think that's what it mostly is. It typically comes down to either deadlines or just what they feel is more important. Like, we can at least fit 2 players in and give people that, and then, you know, finish up the rest of the game or something. But I would love it if every game, or maybe not every game, needs 4 players or even 2 players for some of them, just depending on what it is. But there are just some games where it's like, I wish this had 4 players. Like we have like GoldenEye, one of the biggest 4-player co-op games, like the thing that pretty much started it all with like 4 people playing at one time.
Yeah.
And
I think I've only ever gotten like 2 people to actually play that with me for an extended period of time because, I don't know, a lot of people thought that the controls didn't age that well.
But
and as a consequence, it's one of the few FPS games I'm actually okay at.
But yeah, like now it's like we have games where I think it's just the fact that things are advancing to a certain point. Like it's beyond deadlines now. It's like we have all this technology that we're learning still as we go along, and we kind of have to push multiplayer to the wayside a little bit.
Okay.
To where some people like with Borderlands, they do at least give us 2 players. But for people like them, where it's like they could do 4 players if they had the time or knew the technology like 100%, it probably wouldn't be as difficult.
Actually, it's kind of funny that we mentioned the whole deadlines thing and then bring up GoldenEye because the multiplayer mode of that game was made in like the last few weeks.
I remember hearing that too, and it was just like, yeah, we got it.
It's like
they kind of just threw it in, and
Nintendo didn't even know about it.
Threw that in, and magic happened on that one.
Yeah,
but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Although the only thing that really bugs me about GoldenEye's in multiplayer is there's a lot of invisible walls on the maps, and I don't know why. Like, there's just some areas that you can't even walk off the ledge. Like, I can understand no jumping, but if walking off the ledge, I think it's kind of bullshit.
It happens, yeah. Some things just do that though. Invisible walls, older games. Like we still have invisible walls in current games, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Where it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, it's not the invisible walls that specifically that kind of irk me about that. It's just that, like, you have this natural instinct that you think that, it's like, okay, I can't jump. Whatever. I don't need it. It's not, most of the levels are, pretty flat terrain anyway, so you don't really need jumping. But then, you come across, like, a ledge or something, and you instinctively think that you can just, like, walk off of it, and you don't. It's just like something you gotta get used to.
Yeah.
And I understand it's like an older game, but I figured, it would at least have something like that. I don't know. Like, I'm not harping on GoldenEye's multiplayer by any means. It's just, that's just the one thing that kind of bugs me about it.
Lots of invisible walls stopping you from kind of exploring the way you want to. Or
I
playing
guess.
the way you want to, yeah.
I guess.
There's a lot of stuff that comes up with games, like the invisible wall stuff. There's always a game with an invisible wall where it's like they make a ledge because it's like everything is specifically designed a certain way.
Yep.
And they make a ledge, and it's like that like in real life you just climb this, and that's one of the hard things with games. It's always kind of funny. It's like I can't harp on them for designing something realistically and then stopping you from realistically traveling on it, but at the same time it's like, well, everyone's going to say that when they see it and you put an invisible wall. Like, I can't get past this little bit of terrain, but I have double jumps. Instead, I have to do a whole puzzle just to move this giant column out of my way.
Okay, I gotcha.
Stuff like that. Just like, it's game design, though, but it's always kind of funny when I see that. And then we have some other things that do work, though. Outside of multiplayer, we have great single player here and there, which fortunately doesn't go away. I guess depending on if you're Xbox and you want to screw everybody over, which fortunately that never came to be with the whole DRM thing, and having to be online 100% of the time.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That was. I mean, I don't think I was even planning on getting the new Xbox anyway, but just hearing that was complete crap.
Yeah,
$500. They were gonna sell that for $500.
Yeah. And Microsoft still never really got the Kinect the way it was supposed to be. Like, that's why you can buy the Xbox One now without it, because initially you could only buy it with Kinect, and it was like, here's new Kinect and it's better and all this, and it's still like you still watch reviews for those games and they're still not great.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Kinect was just sort of like a too little too late kind of thing, because when did that thing get released? Like 2010 or something? 2011 or something?
Yeah.
Like, okay, it was around the time where people were starting to realize that the Wii wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Like the interest in motion sensing controls, and this was the same problem with the PlayStation Move, but the difference is that the PlayStation Move wasn't like totally forced on you. Like they didn't they probably made
it wasn't every game. Like
yeah.
It was like 10, 20 games for Kinect.
And yeah, exactly. For like the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation, I think the PlayStation 4 has the Move too, but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. But any games that feature the Move, except for maybe like one or two of them, it's usually just something an option. Like you can use this if you want to. I know you're probably not going to, but it's there if you want it. But the Xbox Kinect, it's like they have whole games built around it. Mm-hmm. And I think like maybe its introduction was pretty bad. Like I think the Kinect just had a rough ride right from the start. I mean, a console is going to be kind of rough when one of the first games they're going to announce for it was a Sesame Street game. Or at least I think it was. Maybe it was the year after, but it's been so long since the thing first came out that it was basically just trying to cash in on a fad that at this point was completely dead.
Yeah. I don't know, like the Kinect, I think it really just failed because if it was 100% what it was supposed to be, like the initial trailers, which most things never really are, but if it was like that very first trailer where it's like it copies your movements 100% and there wasn't a million issues where games, you move your arm up and it's like impossible just to wave and it can't even track that sometimes. If it wasn't for stuff like that, I think it probably would make the Xbox probably like the number one console.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Because it would if it actually worked, it would go far beyond all those stupid little games, which all end up they're either young kids games or sports games, and that was it, except for like that one Star Wars Jedi game that came out.
And Dance Central.
Yeah, and Dance Central. And Dance Central is probably the greatest example. That's like the only
and
thing
Dance
that
Central
does
for Kinect Star Wars.
yeah, that happened too. But I think Dance Central is really like the only thing where it does actually work.
Yeah, actually, like if you go to a convention and if there's a Kinect out at all, it's probably going to be playing Dance Central.
It's Dance Central. That's all it ever is.
Yeah.
I think I may have tried. No, I don't think I ever got to play the Star Wars one. The Star Wars one, I think, was probably the second best, and it's not that good. It's like it has some elements that work, but for the most part, everyone said it was like, eh. It has like obviously the Dance Central thing, which everyone kind of hates. It was just them changing songs to put Star Wars characters in, which was really stupid. And then they had like the Rancor thing, which was basically like playing Rampage using the Kinect, and everyone loved that mode. They should have just made a whole game off of that and just made Rampage using the Kinect, and you just destroy stuff. Even if it was difficult to control, sell that for like $40 or something. I think that probably would have sold a lot.
Yeah.
But there are just so many issues with it. I don't know. You guys think we'll get a third version of the Kinect?
No.
The next time we get?
No, we're not.
Done for.
I think, like, in terms of that kind of game, like, I guess you can call it alternate styles of gameplay, because motion sensing is pretty much never coming back. Not after the Kinect, and not after what people saw with the Wii, and not after nobody gave a shit about the PlayStation Move. Honestly, like, in terms of, like, alternate forms of gameplay, the closest thing we have to, like, a real breakthrough with that is probably the Oculus Rift, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Think it was just a passing fad?
It totally was just a passing fad. Wait, when it first came out, the Wii first came out way back in 2006, which I just realized it was 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. People were intrigued by the idea of motion sensing because Wii Sports was actually fun. Okay, the bowling game was really good. The boxing game I remember really liking.
I like that one.
Baseball also was really there was just a bunch of really solid games for Wii Sports, and they thought, there was going to be like more stuff like that. But then they sort of realized that, the motion sensing thing is really only good for like, I guess, a few certain games. You know what I mean? It's not like, I don't know, take the Nintendo 64 where Mario 64 was basically the N64 controller was basically built specifically for Mario 64. But even though people complain about how hard it is to hold the controller, you can at least, name a few other games that or rather several other games that you can use it for. You know what I mean? It's like I guess a lot of people thought like the Wiimote was made it was only good for like Wii Sports and that's it.
Wii Sports
and maybe Wii Sports Resort.
And like some shooter games. And that was another unfortunate thing, of course. I think everyone already knows that with the Wii. Like, as good as it was with the new innovation of motion controls and how it worked, and some of the simpler games, and even some bigger games, but mostly Nintendo brand games. Outside of Nintendo's games themselves, there was nothing on the Wii.
Yeah.
It's like everyone knows it was either you got a Nintendo game, a crappy version of a third-party game, which would be the worst option possible because there was no HD at the time. You would get a excessively watered-down version of whatever game you bought on that console, most likely, especially like Call of Duty, because I played Call of Duty World at War. That game sucks on the Wii. Like, it's not two players. It's like one person is doing it, and the other person is just like basically the second gun.
I remember the Wii version of Dead Rising 1.
I heard that was actually okay, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah,
The 360 version was still better, but it was alright.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another problem with the Wii, and it wasn't really specifically with the Wii itself, but rather Nintendo making a really dumb decision. The shovelware titles, and for the most, I think it actually started on the DS, but then it moved over to the Wii, and I think it had something to do with Nintendo lowering the standards of what could actually be sold on their console, especially considering. Here's an interesting thing. A lot of like the shovelware titles, like some of them, the most notorious ones were like the ones made by a company called Data Design Interactive. They were really notorious during the very early years of the Wii's life for just producing these really shitty shovelware games, like Ninja Bread Man, and like two other clones of Ninja Bread Man.
Those are on Game Grumps, by the way. They did both those games. They look. I think one was a pony, but it was the exact same thing. They just changed the character design or something really simple. It was as simple as that.
Oh yeah, I think the clones were like Anubis 2. I think they were trying to do like their own. I don't know what the hell they were trying to do actually. Action Girls Racing was another one of them. Like I remember some of them, but they're just not coming to me right now. But here's the thing: a lot of those games were actually originally European PS2 games.
No,
now here's the thing about the European PlayStation market is that they had sort of the same standards as the American Wii market. Like all those quote unquote games released by Phoenix Games. They're basically just taking like really shitty German films, giving them a really bad English dub, and just putting them on a disc with a bunch of shitty activities. Those were made for the European PS1 and PS2 market. So when you take that into consideration, and then also take into consideration that those were the standards that the Wii were now going by, there's no wonder why there was a bunch of shovelware on that system.
Yeah, they just had.
For all we know, there could be Phoenix games released in America on the Wii because of this. I don't know this for sure, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, they put pretty much anything and everything they could on that console. Any kids TV show, basically, if it was from Disney Channel, you could find it on the Wii or the DS.
Yeah, and for some reason, one of them became a huge meme, and I don't know why.
Which one was it?
Corey in the House for the DS.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like, it's just such a random game to suddenly make a meme out of.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even have any meme-worthy lines in it or gameplay or anything like that. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's Corey in the House. But I remember one time I was at GameStop.
The guy that picked it is probably hearing this and saying, nothing personal, your name just came up.
Yeah.
Like, trying to pick which game are we going to make a meme out of? Cory in the house. Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Cory in the
Actually,
house.
speaking of Disney games,
Raven, That's So Raven spinoff.
I think I remember hearing this. Somebody asked one of the actors of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody how to get through a level in one of the games, and I think he responded with like "burn it."
That's pretty.
You can
I
probably
heard that too.
you can probably find it somewhere on Google.
That's kind of cool. But
The only thing that the shovelware titles on the Wii ever really did was give like Let's Players fodder.
That's true. And like I remember one time I went to GameStop and me and Teddy went, and there was a game used for, honestly, it was like $235, and we just looked at it and was like, you don't ever see. He was like, that must be a terrible game. It's like, used games aren't sold for $2. Like GameStop makes 100% profit on used games, and they're like, you know what? Let's put this at $2.35 because that's what it's worth. Even at GameStop, it was only worth $2.
That's amazing.
And that really says something about those games. It was like the God, what was the thing? Like the Carnival Games things. They had like an entire franchise on the Wii. It was like 4 or 5 of those games.
Who is buying these games?
I would assume parents that don't know games. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, my kid wants a game. Here's this cheap one, and I don't know. I'm assuming those games were full priced. I assume they didn't put them out for like $30. So I'm sure they still cost $50 at the time.
Yeah,
when they were
but
brand new.
this, I guess I can understand that if this was like 1991 or something. But we have the internet. We have more brand recognition in video games. How can like even older people? How can they not, at least put minimal research into actually getting their kids an actual good game? Okay, you can name some pretty basic names, like I don't know, Mario.
You have people.
All the Nintendo titles.
You have some people who just don't know and don't care. I know some people like that.
Like
If I didn't tell my dad precisely which games to get for which systems I had growing up, like I would research them. I'd give him the names. If I didn't give him the names, he'd just buy whatever says what word he remembers on the front and give it to me.
There's a ton of crap up there. Like it just happened over and over again. Like they'd have crappy franchises, and I think what really happened more than anything is the fact that most of the third party, like I mentioned, if it was on Disney Channel, it was on the Wii.
Yeah,
I think that's really it. Like it was mostly if you have, because we all know any game off of any kid show sells like crazy. Yeah, it at least sells enough for them because they can't be paying the developers that much money to develop 4 or 5 mini games.
It was a special kind of bad on the Wii. Like you could argue that Nintendo has had lackluster third-party support since the N64. But, even if you look back at the 64 and the GameCube, you can find some decent third-party games on there. Because I remember, on the 64, they still had, like, Konami. They still had Midway. Yeah. They had Activision. They had... Who else did they have? I think they had LucasArts, because I remember they released an Indiana Jones game on there. And even on GameCube, I think they had a lot of those same people, because the GameCube was actually, on the same level as at least the PS2. In fact, I heard it was actually more powerful than the PS2. The problem was that it kind of small disc, and it gained a reputation as a kiddie console.
Yeah, because of Nintendo, or just Nintendo being the family company, which they've definitely gone back to with the Wii. But I think they might actually be breaking away from that now.
Bayonetta
so much time has passed. Yeah, so much time has passed since the Wii. Which I think as much as Nintendo was always the family console, I think when Wii came out, it was above and beyond anything it had ever been or ever will be again, because it was like, even the commercials, it was like anyone can play the Wii because it's like, here's Wii Sports. Older people can play all the sports games they want to play it at home.
The problem is that they, again, it all goes down to Wii Sports, and that was like the killer. That was the killer app for Nintendo as a whole at that point. But then people realized, like the Wii might as well have, I don't know, the memory storage of a goddamn
PlayStation 1 memory.
No, not PlayStation 1. I'm not talking PS1. I'm talking about one of those like really early systems from the
floppy disks.
70s that had the games built in. Because it might as well have just been built in with Wii Sports and nothing else. Because that's all the older people were playing the Wii for, other than maybe Wii Fit.
Yeah.
But then again, like Wii Fit and Wii Sports, like just like I guess like a few of the basic Wii titles, that's it. They didn't care about Smash. They didn't care. I don't even think they cared about like the other crappy third-party stuff that they were releasing on the Wii. Like they didn't care about any of those game show Wii games.
It sold as a party console more than anything.
Yeah. And hilarious.
Honestly, I think more than anything might ever do again in the gaming industry.
You know what the funny thing is about the Wii being released as a party console? It only had 2 Mario Party games. The GameCube, I think, had 4, and the N64 had 3.
But it was the one that it was like, we know everyone's playing Wii Sports.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a Wii for, what was it, maybe the first 6 months when that was out. I don't think you could. It was hard to get a Wii, wasn't it? Like
I
6
remember,
months to a year almost. It was pretty much impossible, and they were. They were skyrocketing on that. It was a crazy time for the gaming industry when you kind of look back on it and how that happened.
I still remember the story my mom told me when she first got me the Wii. It was this complicated thing about her going out to a circuit city, and this thing about tickets and someone bringing a box back. I don't remember all the details, but she walked away from that with a Wii console.
My mom got me a Wii console for my birthday, and God bless her for it. Like, seriously. Like, I don't hate my Wii. I mean, I don't play it nearly as much as my PS3 or even my N64, but, like, there are good games for it. It's just
Without
that...
a doubt.
Huh?
Without a doubt. Like, they're definitely...
Yeah. I mean, although I remember most of the games I played on my Wii were, like, virtual console games. But to be fair, that was when, like, the whole retro game craze, that was, like, when it was at its roots.
Yeah.
Or starting to begin.
Peak, yeah.
With...
It was, like, I think Nintendo was the one that kind of did that, because it was, like, Microsoft and Sony, especially Microsoft, they had, like, the indie thing where it's, like, here are new games, either really cool or looking like the retro style. And then here was Nintendo, like, well, here are the actual games that you all already love anyway. And so, of course, they made a ton of money.
And
just
they
by
did
doing
it for,
that.
like, a whole bunch of consoles, too. Like, they did it from NES to N64. They also had the Genesis and the TurboGrafx, which was pretty impressive considering, nobody bought a TurboGrafx.
Yeah, the span of that one, yeah.
They even had Neo Geo games on there. They actually tried to get it, like, there are some Commodore 64 games on there, but the problem is because the Commodore 64 requires a keyboard for most of its games, they had to make like a virtual keyboard that you activate with the B button, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Not to mention the only game I bought on for the Commodore 64 on Wii was Last Ninja 2, and even though it's regarded as a classic, it has some of the worst controls I've ever seen.
Yeah, they did a lot though, and I think it's interesting to see where where the entire gaming industry has gone. I feel like it's...
Actually, I hate to break off here, but you know what kind of irks me about the whole Commodore 64 Wii thing? They never released Great Gianna Sisters on it, which doesn't make any sense to me because I know Great Gianna Sisters like pretty much got sued by Nintendo and they got shut down, but then they brought it back and the first console release they ever did on it was on the DS. And then later they released Twisted Dreams on like the major consoles. And I just find that funny. It's like you actually have like Gianna Sisters can now be legally released with Nintendo's approval, but you don't think to release the original game, which was on the Commodore 64 on Wii Virtual Console. That's like the one Commodore 64 game people would want to buy on Wii Virtual Console because of its history.
Maybe they're still bitter about it.
Who knows? Well, I guess they are, considering the advertisement for the original game was "The Brothers Are History."
Well, that happens. But
okay, sorry about that.
That's fine. I was just gonna say, it's kind of interesting to look sort of where the gaming industry is and how it has been for the past couple of consoles. Mostly like these last two, like current and last gen, I think have really been, aside from aside from like Nintendo first coming out with the NES, which basically kind of helped bring back gaming to the mainstream, I think these last two generations have been some of the biggest things we've ever seen for gaming. Like obviously, PlayStation and PS2 and Xbox definitely had like huge things to them, as well as Dreamcast and stuff like that. But I don't think it's ever been like, with Wii being as big as it was, that hadn't happened since original games came out with Atari and stuff, and then Nintendo when they first did it in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't had that in so long, and it even wasn't it was even bigger than it was back then, and that's when it was like introduced as the new thing. And then we have like the controversies that happen. Now we have games that, consoles that get hacked, and it's like now we can't play online because there are hackers doing stuff for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
And we have entire companies saying stuff like, we're gonna do online only, and you can't. The only way you can share a game is if someone basically buys it all over again. And that's how Microsoft got destroyed at E3. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Which is hilarious. I loved Sony. They was like, this is how you share a game with on PlayStation. And he just gave them the game. It's like, and that was it. It was like 10 seconds. And it was just the funniest thing. And it was so funny. But simple stuff like that.
Microsoft got ripped apart after that.
It was like
Totally.
Sony had a smaller price. They weren't doing the DRM. They didn't even have to say that, but they said like, no DRM or anything like that. It was like obviously they weren't doing it anyway, but it's like, well, we'll just throw it out there and say we aren't because it makes it sound better than Microsoft.
Yeah.
And that's just how it plays out. It's just all the crazy controversies. Some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff we're getting back into controversies, mostly with Nintendo, as far as the YouTube stuff.
I even talked to Billy earlier about this video from the Game Overthinker.
I think I saw that video where you're like, what's wrong with Nintendo? Is that the name of it? Or something close to it?
Nintendo, WTF is wrong with you?
Yeah, I think I was about to watch. I never got to watch it, but I knew even before I watched that, I was like, I know this is going to be about the YouTube thing because that's like the only thing going against Nintendo right now is that. I think they're doing good on console sales. It's not as good as it could be because they have been losing money lately. But it's still Nintendo, so technically they could lose money forever almost, and it would be like nothing for like decades.
Yeah, I remember he talked about the YouTube stuff, about the reception of the Wii U, about Amiibo sales.
Why is he bitching about Amiibo sales? Those are like the highest selling thing that's going on with the Wii U right now.
More like the supply and demand. I myself am collecting a few Amiibos. Not all of them, just my favorite characters.
It's just that the Amiibo collecting craze has just exploded.
I didn't expect that at all when they announced that. I didn't think those would sell at all.
Yeah, neither did I.
I just thought it would be nothing.
I have a feeling that I haven't seen the video, but I feel like maybe he recorded it like, I don't know, 6 months ago when the whole thing wasn't really taking off that well.
When it was announced. I think that was a big shock, though. I mean, some people probably expected it. I would assume the people that are buying them. But I thought it was like, I guess because I didn't see it as these are just cool figures to buy. Because I saw them as the gaming applications. Like, that's a make your own little computer character that's hard to beat. It's like, that's nothing. But as just a brand new figure, that does make a lot of sense because figures sell like crazy. And that's, when it's... I don't know why I couldn't separate that, but
not to mention when the Wii U becomes discontinued and no one's really using its internal features anymore, you still have a cool figurine.
Yeah.
So realistically, they could keep this up for years, for each new console.
Yeah, and they probably will. I mean, they've started it, and obviously it's selling like crazy. And as you mentioned, that was one of the issues in the video. I think it's because, for whatever reason, Nintendo has been having some real serious issues lately with the supply and demand. That's like, if it's not the YouTube thing that's an issue, it's them having like the greatest stuff, and then everybody's like, why the F is there nowhere I can buy this? Because the GameCube thing you can't buy anymore unless you buy it on YouTube or on eBay. They have there's like this company Mayflash, you can get their version. That's what I had to do and buy that off of eBay because you like when those first came out, they were what, like $20 or something? Or do you guys know?
I don't know. Are you talking about the adapters or the actual controllers?
Like the adapters for the Wii.
Oh.
So you can use the GameCube controller.
You're talking about the Wii U, right? Because
Yeah.
we natively supports GameCube.
Yeah, but for like the Wii U thing.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention because I had no intentions on getting a Wii U at the time.
Yeah, like they sold out so fast though, and then now it's like hard to find them. If you find them on eBay, it's like $30-$40, or you get the Mayflash thing, which actually works.
I remember what the Game Over Thinker said about the supply and demand thing.
Mm-hmm.
He said, either you didn't anticipate just how popular these things were going to be, or you are and are
Just a douchebag.
and are artificially manipulating supply. So take your pick. Are you clueless or dishonest?
I think people need. I think it's good that he said that because they probably saw it in the original video and just couldn't understand him because he was talking so fast.
I don't know. I mean, they have these great things. Like they have, the adapters, which a lot of people wanted because everyone still likes. A lot of people, at least, still like to use GameCube controllers. I know I do because I suck. If I use a Wiimote on Smash, I can't play.
Those
like,
those LNR buttons, man, they are so fun to press.
Yeah, they're essential for me because you when you block in Smash Brothers, don't you have to use 2 buttons if you use a Wiimote to get like the block?
Not necessarily. You just press the Z. Though I use the Wiimote nunchuck combination.
So do I,
So
and
it's probably different.
the sad thing is that
I think it was the grab button. It was something. There's something that you have to do more than you have to do if you have a GameCube controller.
The reason I don't use the Wiimote anymore is mainly because of one thing. Double tapping with a D-pad is a bitch. Like, try doing a dash with that thing. You can't do it.
But I still, like, it's so hard. Like, I can't play it at all. Like, I can play, because I've played using a classic controller, totally fine. It's at least similar. The gamepad I've used before, because I think it really is the shoulder buttons. There's some move, and I thought it was grab, and maybe that's if you use a Wiimote by itself, but there is some move that I just can't seem to do when I use a Wiimote. And like some of the other moves also, like when you have a GameCube controller, the C-Stick, you instantly get those, they're like what, the B buttons? Almost, or like forward A buttons.
Yeah.
They're basically just at a flick, which is just really cool and convenient compared to actually having to time it right.
Yeah.
It's basically up, down, left, and right, and you have those moves instantaneously mapped, and it's like 2 buttons in one. And that's just a cool thing to have. Like, it's a great way to fight in that game.
You need precision,
Yeah.
and you need precision, and the control stick allows this. With D-pad, it's basically just brute force. You're spending more time actually getting it to work rather than actually being able to you figure out how to use it correctly. I think that's what it is.
And plus, and I don't think this has much of a limit, but obviously with the analog, that's what, 12? With like the little
12 directions.
12 directions
Yeah.
compared to D-pad, which is 4. And like I said, I don't think that has that much of an impact on it because you can still
technically it's like 8 directions,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Because you can still do like up and right at the same time, and you go diagonal. But it does make it a little bit simpler. And
Yeah.
Like I know for hardcore people, like for us, we're kind of general players, and even we're picking up on that. So obviously for hardcore players, it's like an even a much greater deal compared to how we see it, and we still notice it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy to see how they do that. Like, because if they did it with games, they wouldn't have a company.
Yeah.
But they do it with all of their accessories, which sell like crazy. And, they do it with the amiibos. They do it with the adapters. And there was a third thing, and I forgot what it was. There's something else that they have, too.
Majora's Mask 3DS.
It wasn't a game, and I didn't know they didn't sell those like crazy. It was something. I thought it was something else, but even alone, the amiibos, barely selling those, or barely having enough, even though they know they're going to sell anyway.
I thought I was just going to be able to walk into a store and pick up a Little Mac and Pet amiibo figure at Christmas time.
You need a ticket in 3 hours. I don't know, but like I didn't think I'd ever want to do this, but I actually want to get the amiibos for Splatoon because they have like a 3-pack thing, and I don't know if they're not on sale yet or what it is, but like I went on eBay and you can find them for like $65, and then I went to like Best Buy to see, and it's like unavailable, but it has a price that's like $25 or $35. So I don't know exactly if the prices are wrong or how all of that is supposed to play out, but they have like this triple pack for the Splatoon amiibos, and they'll be like $65 if you want to get them off eBay, and you'd get it, and it would still just be the pre-order as well, and you could get either the North American version, or like the Japanese version and stuff like that. But I don't know. And the only reason I wanted those is because they actually had an appeal because you get costumes with those compared to like other amiibos where it's just the online figure. But you get like the Mii costumes for Smash Brothers if you get the amiibos. But yeah, they're up here like $70. And it's like, it says like it's only one left, but it's not even out yet. It's the pre-order. Like the game is not out yet, and it's like $60-$50.
I can just picture myself 30 years from now. I'm getting a phone call from Derek. It's like, Billy, they finally found it. The first edition Little Mac amiibo that I've been searching for 30 years. We finally found it, and I'm going to get it. I need you to come over to the store. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever used a gun before? Because we're going to go into some serious shit. I have been waiting way too long to have this come out, to have this fail on me, so you need to cooperate. Okay, Derek, but I gotta, kids, I gotta help my friend out with this amiibo thing. You guys keep playing with your, 2030 anniversary edition Marios and whatever you kids are playing with these days. Can you pick me up a 40S, Dad? I'll see. I will see. I'm sorry, but I need to concentrate on this. Oh, by the way, tell your mom that I might get shot. So I'm gonna stop by the insurance office, put some life insurance money in there. So you guys should be fine. Just promise me you will not be really depressed if I end up not living through this. Okay, I'm going. Feed the cats while I'm gone. Okay, that was a tangent we didn't need to go on.
For amiibos. It's
So
serious.
if I could just say this, I've been lucky enough to actually find all the ones I've been looking for so far.
Okay, replace Little
Except-
Mac with
Except now, on May 29th, they're releasing Charizard, Robin from Fire Emblem, and Ness from Earthbound.
That's when Splatoon comes out too. So all three of those are going to be out as well.
Okay, I guess you can replace Little Mac with, I don't know,
Ness.
Ness.
He's probably going to be the hardest one to find.
And then I'm probably going to have to get my kid the brand new Cthulhu Blooper amiibo. Because it'd be cool if, like, I don't know, Nintendo went through a phase where it's like, you know what, we have bloopers, let's just make one of them Cthulhu.
It should be cool. I'm really excited for E3 to see what we're going to get. I think Nintendo put out recently what they're going to do for E3. I didn't look it up yet, but they kind of put out what their plans are going to be. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for Splatoon. I do want to get that. It's like that and Bayonetta 2 are like the two games on the Wii. It's like, I just need the Wii for this. I've played Smash Brothers a lot because, of course, somebody has it. But I did end up buying that too because I have a Wii U coming in. So I was like, all right, these are the two games I want. So I bought Smash Brothers and I bought Bayonetta 2. And I have it where the 3D Worlds and Nintendo Land come with it as well. So fortunately, I have 2 to 3 4-player games. Smash Brothers going up to 8 players, which would be great to experience that. But there's just a lot of stuff, and like I don't know. I apparently the pre-orders are gone for the Splatoon, and that's why they're all on eBay. It's like get the pre-order now, and there's some where you can get the single one. They have like on Best Buy, they're $35, and then you go on eBay because they're all sold out, and they're $60. Like cheapest is $60 unless you're bidding, and then it's lower, or you're getting the single pack.
I can't even try to worry about pre-orders because they're usually gone within minutes after they're posted. And by minutes, I mean like 2 or 3 minutes.
Nintendo's
at
doing...
1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, they announced that stuff. They know what they're doing. They're not... Well, like you said, they're either
Are you either clueless or dishonest?
And I don't think Nintendo's ever been stupid, so...
Eventually they're gonna make like I wouldn't be surprised if like some Chinese company tried to make like bootleg amiibos. Like
that'd be funny
if they made like Prodigy Pet amiibos. Like if we were to play out that 30 years later situation, that would be me calling Derek, telling him like the bootleg Charizard, except he'd probably have to bring a bigger gun.
I don't know, but amiibos are selling. Even for Splatoon, which is a game that just got announced. A lot of people were obviously excited for it. So it's like freaking $60. I guess I'm never getting one of those in because I'm not doing that. But 35, I don't know, because they're like $20 by themselves, and then the 3-pack is like 35, and it's like you'd get the guy character, the girl character, and the squid, and each comes with a unique costume that you would unlock for the game. One is like a schoolgirl outfit. The guy, he has like a samurai outfit, and then the squid has like a full-on android robot outfit, which looks insane. It's like, oh well, I'm not paying twice as much money, so somebody else off eBay can get a bunch.
And I have to say that
it's
the
smart,
normal price for an amiibo figure so far has been only $13.
Yeah, see that goes. There it is right there.
You know what they'd probably do? They'd probably make like a Wii U equivalent to Pokemon Stadium and make the Surfing Pikachu an amiibo.
That would be cool. That would
cause riots.
Yes. People would destroy each other for that. Little Surfing Pikachu, Pokemon Yellow, people would go insane. These are just like the ones that are going crazy aren't that special either. It's like, here's a cool little pose here and there, but you do Surfing Pikachu. Destroying people. But I guess we will end it there on a pseudo happy note. I guess Nintendo's doing something right, but I don't know if it's exactly right for us or not, because we're going crazy trying to get amiibos. And
so the final question is going to be: are any of us going to be competing in the Nintendo World Championships 2015?
Not me. If I can find a 3-pack for Splatoon somehow for $35, I'll get it eventually. But if not, I'm not gonna miss the cool costumes. I'll see them on YouTube, and I'll be like, I wish I had that, but it's not worth twice as much money.
Where is this Nintendo World Championships thing happen? I know it's going on at Best Buy, but do they say which ones?
I don't know. I just thought I'd bring that up because it's pretty cool news. Even though the last championships I wasn't even alive for.
And what exactly is it that's going to be happening there?
Well, the championships is supposed to be like a gaming tournament, and I actually saw one of the videos that from the 1991 that they apparently gave contestants. Basically, they get a bunch of gamers from different age groups, and they just have them compete, I guess. It's like a real-life version of The Wizard, I guess.
They have them games competing against a bunch of different games. I think the first one had the gamers competing in Super Mario Brothers, Rad Racer, and Tetris.
Rad Racer's a fun game.
First placer got a cash prize of I don't know how much. And maybe second and third place did too, but I also know
they gave away the gold cartridges, right? Like the World Series things.
No, those were the gray cartridges. Oh. I think I remember hearing that the gold cartridges were actually Club Nintendo prizes or
Oh, yeah,
Nintendo
yeah.
Power prizes or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. But they coincidentally happen to be much rarer and therefore much more valuable than the actual, competition cartridges. Though I will admit that blue cartridge that the repro cartridge that the AVGN showed actually looked really cool.
It should be interesting to see. I would never participate in that because I would lose. Even if it was for, like I said, for some cool amiibos, it would just be like, I'll see them in the game. Because I'm sure they're going to do amiibos. Like, we have to assume, right, they're going to have a rare amiibo as a prize of something. Or maybe a couple of them. Like, grand prize gets like 3 rare, maybe second gets 2, third gets 1 or something.
Someone will finally be able to get the fabled Miss Sing No amiibo.
That would be funny if they did that. That would be insane. Like, we'll make one of these and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll end it there. Of course, if you guys have any comments on the topics we talked about, spend a lot of time mostly on Nintendo and their practices. But I guess because we like Nintendo. If we hated them, we'd just be bashing them the whole time. But
And if you don't have anything to contribute to the conversation, please consider leaving us a pity comment.
yeah, let us know what you want us to talk about. Whether it's gaming, nerdy, or not, something random. We'll find some way to talk about it, and if we don't, then we will instantly segue into something nerdy, and basically ignore what you put. That's just how it's gonna. That's how it'll work, because we won't have much to say. But thanks for listening. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, subjects you want us to talk about, whether it's a game or a show comes out, movie, anything like that, please put them down in the comment section below. And thanks for listening.